I knew I wanted to be a writer. I'd never been able to take any sort of creative writing classes ever in my life, so I just had this idea that that was something I wanted to do. And I also wanted to be someplace that was different. I applied, and then we visited, and it was like being on another planet after, suburban public high school Los Angeles. There were real writers everywhere, real artists everywhere. It was completely exciting to me because I had no arts conservatory background. I barely even thought I could make it at a liberal arts school. For me, it completely shaped me from scratch. And the first time I got to my dawn meeting, I quickly apologized for even being there. I felt like I was intruding, and he said, "But this is what we do here. You can sit down and we're going to talk." And I kept looking at my watch thinking, okay, 15 minutes has gone by, 20 minutes has gone by. He's gonna be bored, and he said, "Relax, we've got an hour." And that was revolutionary to me, that there were these famous professors here, famous professionals who would have time for me, and I would get to pick them. I would go around campus and interview them and pick them, and then they would sit there and have time to devote to me like that. In my 4 years here, I feel like I experienced the whole spectrum of the fiction world. That's another great thing. You go to certain schools and they have certain leanings. Even in an undergraduate program, you'll know this is a very realist school. This is an experimental school. And actually, I think Sarah Lawrence has a vibe of being a fairly experimental writing program, but actually there is quite a diverse selection of writers, and there continues to be. I think there is no better undergraduate fiction program in the country. I definitely believe that. It is absolutely stellar because it's treated like a graduate program in some ways. I mean, it's treated, you're completely serious. There's always this idea of that manuscript that you're going to end up with. Even if you don't write the manuscript here, I just wrote short stories that were preparation in a way for what I did for graduate school. But I always had this idea of what that manuscript was going to be, and all my work here ended up adding up to that. It was the perfect preparation. And then if you want contacts in the real world, there's also that real world side of things. The groups in general of fiction writers that the school hires, they are so incredibly generous, and they will be there for you, and they will help you. I can't imagine a better place for a young fiction writer to be. It was here that I developed the writing habits of how to be a writer. How do you actually do it? I asked all of them. And this was the type of place where you could ask your professors, what do you do? And people, I think, who've gone to Sarah Lawrence take that for granted, because I remember asking that same question in grad school to one of my professors, and he just kind of looked at me like, don't worry about what I do. This is what you're supposed to do. And I suddenly couldn't engage him in the same way. The philosophy classes I took, the other humanities classes I took, they all, again, fit into the culture of being an artist and intellectual. I think here I really understood the two really could coexist. I became exactly kind of what I've always wanted to be. I got here, and it was just the creativity that just oozed out of the pores of all the students in every single way possible. I mean, sounds crazy to think of dinner at a cafeteria with a bunch of your friends as an opportunity for creative expression, but Sarah Lawrence students would find a way to even make that into a sort of artistic spectacle. Often I'll describe Sarah Lawrence to people and they'll say, "God, that sounds like so much fun. Was that college? It sounds like you're talking about a residency or something." And then I'll have to say, but the work, I liked the work. And the work was intense. We had to do, it was all writing. We didn't have tests. We had to write papers. It was normal at Sarah Lawrence for me to write a 30 to 40 page paper. That wasn't like a thesis the way at certain places, that is. It was completely normal, and that's what you did here. You just wrote. And for 4 years to be at a place with its own set of rules, with its own totally unique worldview. I still have this sort of spirit that I feel like I picked up here, where art is a part of every aspect of my life.